So my friends, let me tell you what's been going on in my little corner of the world. We have had one snowstorm after another, followed by frigid temperatures that were down in the single digits and high winds. The roads were really icy. I've mentioned before I live on top of a hill, not a hill, correction, I stand corrected, a mountain. And when it gets bad, it really is too dangerous to go out. So I've gathered my supplies together for this biscotti recipe. Some of it was borrowed. I had to borrow some cranberries from my friend. This little bit of orange zest, I'm not even going to show you the pitiful orange that I got that off of. Here are a little bit of almonds. I cracked some fresh nuts. There's like pecans and hazelnuts, almond, walnut. I think there's even a Brazil nut in here. And I toasted them and chopped them. In the mixing bowl are two kinds of sugar, brown and white, and some butter. Let me see. Over here are my dry ingredients ready to be sifted. There's flour, salt, and baking powder. A couple of eggs, and my scraper and tools. And so I think that's it for starters, and I will bring you back in a minute, okay? I decided to combine the fruit and nuts by hand. So there's chocolate chips and cranberries, orange zest, lots and lots of nuts. And now I need to stir them all together. It looks really good. Really, really good. You see that? Just the wonderful fruit and the nuts. Okay, I'm going to finish combining this and then I'll start shaping the loaves, okay? Okay, so I have this one done, and when you do it, try to make sure that you have your log all the same height and the same width, because it all needs to bake at the same temperature, and you will be cutting these into the traditional biscotti shape. So you want to have enough on the ends to make a nice piece of biscotti. Now, some people dip their hands in water, but you can also dip it in a little bit of flour. It's not going to hurt anything. Just don't overdo. Let me see. I want to make sure that you can see this. I tasted the dough. I'm an incorrigible dough taster, and it's really good. So just kind of use your hands. Don't be scared to work the dough. It's not going to hurt it any. I've got the oven set at 350 degrees, and we'll be baking this for between 20 to 30 minutes. You kind of want it really firm and set, but not too dark. You know biscotti, you have to bring them out, cool them a little bit, and then slice them, and then bake them for an additional maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So, okay, they're ready to go into the oven. I found about 2/3 of a bag of coconut in the freezer. And I've been eyeing this recipe for years. You can tell by how shredded the page is. I've been holding on to it for a long time. It is a coconut macaroon recipe. And since I'm baking anyway, I think I'm just going to go ahead and make up a bunch of coconut macaroons, okay? So let me finish cleaning up, and I will get the ingredients together for this and get started while the biscotti out of the oven after the first baking, and have to allow them to cool for at least 10 minutes. At that point, I will be cutting them into the traditional biscotti shape and laying them on their sides and toasting them again. So I'll show you that. In the bowl here, I have 2 cups of coconut, 1/4 of a cup of flour, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a little bit of chopped nuts, also a nice generous teaspoon of almond extract. Here are 2 egg whites, cream of tartar, and sugar, and I will be beating the egg whites first. Okay, time to beat the egg whites. Okay, in goes the cream of tartar. Continue beating. I'm going to reduce I'm going to reduce the speed to medium and add the sugar. It makes it soft. Okay. A little bit more. Okay, that's good. Now to add in the coconut and the nuts. It smells really good. And, oh wow, it has a nice feel to it. Really nice. Once I get this well combined, I'm going to refrigerate it for at least a half an hour before I start scooping out the cookies. Okay. All right, my friends, here are the biscotti. Here's one loaf. I have already sliced the first one. I was watching a fellow by the name of Joe last night on YouTube. It's Joe's Italian Cooking, or Italian Cooking by Joe. I will put the link down in the show more box. And he made a point that I kind of agree with. He said people slice their biscotti too thin. And when he was making his, he made them at least 3/4 of an inch thick, which to me just is perfect. Anyway, I tasted a little crispy end of this, and oh, it is so good. So now what I have to do is just slice the second loaf and get it on the pan. Another thing that he said was let the knife do the work. So this is a serrated knife. It's just a table knife. I don't have a long bread knife. If you are Italian, your heritage has created one of the classic cookies in all the world, and I thank you for it. Alright, I'll get the rest on, and then they have to go back into the oven at between 300 and 325 for maybe 10 minutes. I'll check. Here you go, my friends, just out of the oven. I think they look beautiful. They smell just amazing. So I have one little thing left to do to them, and but I'll have the recipe below, and I really hope that you do yourself a favor and make your own biscotti. Okay, friends, it's time to bake the coconut macaroons. So what I'm doing here is I have about a 1-inch scoop, and I'm getting a nice firm amount, and I want a little bit of a dome on each of these cookies. So I'll bring you over to the tray here in just a minute, okay? It smells really good. Hard to do with one hand because the bowl wants to slide. So let me set this down again, okay? Here, where you can see the cookie sheet. Have the oven turned to 325 degrees, and I will check them after about 12 or 13 minutes just to see if they're developing any color. This is half a recipe. You know me and my half recipes. Okay, so there they are. There are 12 of them, and I think I'm going to get about another 6 out of the bowl. So, okay, I'll see you in a little bit when they come out. Okay, guys, what do you think? I just took them out of the oven, and I think they turned out beautifully. I love the color on them. They're nice and firm. And I have about 5 or 6 more to bake, okay? I'm very pleased with these. Well, here we are, guys. I am absolutely thrilled with how these turned out. Here are the macaroons. The bottoms are just beautifully golden with that little crispy edge around the outside. That recipe came, I had, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16. That recipe made 17, and then the biscotti recipe, close to a couple dozen. As I was saying earlier, I was watching Joe Cooking Italian on YouTube, and all he did with his biscotti is put a little powdered sugar on them, and that appealed to me rather than dipping them in chocolate, which I've done before. But these are so rich with fruit and nuts, I really don't think they need anything like that. So, well, I think the only thing that could have made it better is if you guys were here and I could share with you. So just pretend that you're coming over for a cup of coffee and I'm going to be serving you some of these, okay? All right, have a great evening and I'll see you soon.